Greetings everyone, my name is Luxley, and to my horde friends out there, Zug Zug, you know what I'm talking about. Going to go over top 25 facts of the upcoming Warcraft movie, and I have to say, I am a huge Warcraft fan. I produce a lot of World of Warcraft content on my channel, as well as other games, and I'm a huge movie buff. I love movies, bad movies, you name it, just give me popcorn, and I'm happy watching a bad movie, which I do not believe Warcraft will be. Let's go to the countdown. Duncan Jones said the original script was very one-sided in terms of the two factions, obviously Alliance and Horde. After signing on to direct, he made major edits to the story as well as the script so both factions could tell their side of the story. This is a very underrated statement, in fact, just simply because it shows that Duncan Jones cares. It shows that Duncan Jones is willing and anxious and challenged to put out his best. And when anyone is in that position, especially if they got a little bit of skill like this director, good things usually do happen. That's just me, a little bit of deductive reasoning. What are your thoughts? The film was going to be released in December 2015, but was pushed back to May 2016 to avoid the release of Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Going to do a little bit of a correction here. First, it was pushed back from December 2015 to March 2016 to June 2016. But this is very common in the film business, especially when you're going against an iconic franchise such as Star Wars, Star Trek, things of that nature, Lord of the Rings. Perfect example, James Cameron, when he first came out with Titanic, initially wanted a May 1999 release. He pushed it back to December because he did not want to compete against the first installation of the second trilogy of Star Wars. So this is a very common practice and a very smart one, I might add. U-Bowl, now there's a name kids really had a lot of fun with in grade school, made a bid to direct Warcraft, but was turned down by Blizzard, who he claims to have said, and I quote, and this certainly is not pulling any punches, and you really can't be more honest than this without the aid of alcohol. We will not sell the movie rights, not to you, especially not to you, because it's such a big online game success, where it's gone from 13 million to 5.5 million subs. I just had to throw that in there. Such a huge online game success, maybe a bad movie would destroy that ongoing income. The reality is Warcraft is a highly profitable franchise, and yes, I could understand why they want to protect it and certainly don't want to put the movie in the wrong hands of the wrong director. Two actors in a Warcraft movie, Ben Foster, who plays Medivh, and Daniel Cudmore, who I don't know who he plays, or I don't even know who he is. The funny thing is, I looked at several sources trying to find out who this actor plays in the movie, and it's all blank. So I think that's there intentionally because he's a secret character. These two guys play Angel and Colossus, respectively, in the X-Men franchise. Incidentally, X-Men will be coming out with a new installation of a movie 4 weeks before Warcraft, right around that area, depending where you are in the world. So both X-Men, new movie coming out, Warcraft, first movie coming out, Star Trek, new movie coming out about a month after Warcraft. Let me know if you're a fan of any of those three franchises. Russian actor Anton Yelchin, best known for his role as Chekhov in Star Trek, the recent reboot, 2009, I believe 2013, was on the short list of potential actors for the Warcraft movie. Now keep in mind, this movie's been around in development and conception for over 10 years, so a lot of different actors' names were tossed out there for potential roles, and there's even been different directors on board for the project, so they have different artistic views of where they want to go with the series. But at one point, you could have seen Chekhov as a major character, maybe Medivh, maybe even Khadgar, probably more of a Medivh character. That's what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts? Where would Chekhov fit in the World of Warcraft universe? Colin Farrell was approached for the role of King Lane, which I think would have been a great casting. He met with the director and read for the script Ultimately, the role went to Dominic Cooper, who incidentally said that he's very excited to be playing a good guy as opposed to a villain, because anybody that's seen any of his movies, he generally plays the bad dude, the villain. So, Dominic Cooper, not a bad choice. Colin Farrell, let me know who you would rather see as King Lane. At Comic-Con 2014, Legendary, who's the production company of the film, brought weapons from the film to show off as a teaser to the fans of the series. Instantly, they recognized one of the weapons on display that is commonly known as Doomhammer. Pretty cool. Pretty darn cool that they immediately recognize an artifact kind of iconic weapon from the game and that they're incorporating it into the movie. Excellent idea. Ground control to Major Tom. Warcraft's director, Duncan Jones, is the son of the late, great David Bowie. Matter of fact, when his father did pass away, Duncan Jones did tweet saying that he was going to take some time off from editing the film and working on the post-production aspect of the film because he was very, very upset his father passed away, and who wouldn't be? But very, very cool to know Duncan Jones, son of the late, great David Bowie. Terry Notary, who portrays Gromosh Hellscream, is alternatively known for performing orc movements and teaching his co-stars. That's the purest form of enthusiasm and joy and excitement about something, is when you want to share it with others. You feel you do it so well and you're very excited and willing to help other people, especially on set. This is a guy who relishes his part, obviously is very much into the film. That's a good sign. A live-action concept trailer for the film was shown at Comic-Con a few years ago, showing a knight begin a fight with an orc. Oh gee, there's something that doesn't happen every day. It was revealed hours later that the film had not even started pre-production. I don't know how that happens, but it could have very well been fan-made. You started seeing a lot of fan-made teasers and trailers once they announced that Duncan Jones was on the project and this got a green light. People started coming out with these false, true trailers, teasers, etc., etc. So maybe it was that, maybe it wasn't. We don't know. Interesting, though. At a BlizzCon Q&A, when a fan asked Duncan Jones, who incidentally is the director, where he would be shooting the film Warcraft, he was not allowed to answer. In other words, one of those non-disclosure agreements, which most film people do sign, but instead hinted at the shirt he was wearing that said Vancouver, where the film was actually shot. So if you're not allowed to say something about something in your non-disclosure agreement, well, you could always write it down, or you could point at your t-shirt if you're wearing a t-shirt that has the right answer. The film went through 20 months of post-production. Thomas Tull, the CEO of Legendary Pictures and producer of the film, said Duncan Jones and the special effects team are doing work that is truly cutting edge. 20 months is a long time, unless you're pushing the boundaries of a technology. And I know for a fact that a movie like Apocalypse Now, going back into late 70s, early 80s, really pushed the boundaries and really did a lot of intensive editing and a lot of things that were very cutting edge at the time. That was Francis Ford Coppola, and that movie was in post-production for 18 to 24 months, not exactly sure. So a lot of production time means generally that you might be pushing cutting edge technology, and that is precisely what's going on with this movie. Robert Kazinsky, who plays Ogrim Doomhammer, is also a die-hard World of Warcraft player. From what I understand, he has logged in over 80 million hours. Only kidding. And recalls producers telling him to turn off the game while on the set of the movie Pacific Rim, which came out in 2013. Once again, another guy who's a big fan of the franchise, a big fan of the game, as an actor in the movie. That brings out a lot of passion, that brings out a lot of pride, and those are good things. Those are really good things. These are good elements coming into this film, so I'm very curious to see how it's all wrapped up and delivered. Duncan Jones said the Warcraft universe is very high fantasy. High as in altitude, high as in give me some more weed, or high as in, here we go, eccentric. Very eccentric. And Duncan Jones planned to make it feel more grounded in reality, though at the same time keep the look and feel of the game in the film. Here's the deal though. It's very, very difficult to capture video games on the big screen. A lot of attempts have been made, a lot of them have failed. Can Duncan Jones do it? We shall see. If anybody can do it, he's certainly one of the few. So that's a very good thing. 10 years in the making as far as the conception and the development of the entire Warcraft movie. Blizzard first announced a Warcraft film back in 2006. This sounds kind of outrageous, but the reality is, a lot of movies take a long time to produce, and 10 years, 8 to 10 years, it's pretty much average, believe it or not, especially for a film that might be controversial, especially for a film that might be very challenging, especially for a film that's about a video game, which incidentally usually do not do well. That genre on film does not do well, so 10 years sounds more reasonable than it initially does. The source for the movie adaptation is being taken from the books The Rise of the Horde, which tells how the Orcish Horde was initially formed, as well as The Last Guardian, which shows the human side and reaction to the Orcish invasion. I've read neither book. Let me know if you've read any of the books, and of course, I'm just going to sit around and wait till either the Cliff Notes come out or the movie, and I know the movie's coming out in June 2016, so I'll just go see the movie. Director Duncan Jones expressed a passionate interest in directing at least 2 more Warcraft sequels. We all know that there's a lot of canon that they could put together for 2 more movies, 3 more movies. What I sincerely do hope they avoid, Mr. Pandaria, and if they really want to lose money, which certainly isn't the goal of Hollywood here, they could do a movie on Warlords of Draenor. That'd be a good movie, right? Being sarcastic. Chris Metzen, lead story writer at Blizzard Entertainment and the voice of many key characters in the Warcraft series, is also in charge of the story of the film. This could be fundamentally a very good thing, or this could be fundamentally a very bad thing. I'm not going here. I'm not touching this one. I'm going to leave it up to you. Good thing or bad thing, Chris Metzen has a lot to say as far as the story development of this particular movie. Let me know your thoughts. An Orcish dialect was crafted specifically for the Warcraft movie. Some of the production people involved with this task worked on Lord of the Rings and Avatar. Now, it sounds kind of wild and crazy and very unique that they would form their own language for a movie, but the reality is Star Trek did it 30 years ago with Klingon for the Star Trek movies, and even going back about 5 or 6 years ago, the producers of Game of Thrones did it with the Dothraki language. It's becoming more and more common, especially in the sci-fi fantasy genre, but it is still pretty darn cool, and I gotta say, maybe a year from now, especially if this movie's a big hit, people are gonna be speaking an Orc dialect, or Orcish, in trade chat. At one time, Sam Raimi, director of the original Spider-Man trilogy, the one that came out or initiated in 2000, was set to direct Warcraft. He went on to a different project. Not that he disliked Warcraft, just had more passion about another project, went on to it. I believe that's when Duncan Jones stepped into the picture. Robert Kazinsky, who plays Orgrim Doomhammer, who I just realized has Orgrimmar and the amazing weapon Doomhammer named after him, plays World of Warcraft on his Horde Death Knight. Death Knight. Everybody knows how I feel about Death Knight. But anyway, I think it's great that you have one of the primary actors in the movie, one of the most important actors in the movie, who is a big fan, plays the game. Nothing like someone putting action on a table to demonstrate their passion for something. And all this, of course, has been revealed during BlizzCon, the movie panel, their most recent BlizzCon, I do believe. But people knew about Kazinsky being a big fan prior to this. It's a good thing. Trust me, people. Bill Wessenhofer, the lead visual effects supervisor for the film, is a longtime World of Warcraft player and has mentioned getting up at 2 a.m. to raid with his guild while on film sets. That is true dedication. And this is not the first time we've heard this. This is another person involved in the movie who actually plays the game and has a passion for the game, almost an addiction to the game. This is really cool stuff. This is the kind of stuff that leads to greatness, we hope. Life-size weapons and armor were built for the orcs despite being played by actors via motion capture. Incidentally, motion capture was the same exact type of technology that was used in Lord of the Rings for Gollum, except back then it was cutting edge. Now it's a lot more refined. This was mainly for photographic references and so that they could use them as props on the set. And I also got to believe that they wanted to use them as souvenirs, and they wanted to use them as trophies, so to speak, for Blizzard to propel to people. Because let me tell you, people will pay money for this stuff. I won't, but I know a lot of people will. And if that's what you like, hey, that's great. But I think that's part of the reason as well. What do you guys think? Paula Patton is not portraying her character Garona in motion capture, despite playing Garona as half orc and half human. In Warcraft lore, however, she is actually considered half Draenei and half human. At least she thought herself to be human up until she was told otherwise, which is really, really interesting to me, how someone will say, guess what, you're not human, you're now an orc, or you're not human, you're now a Draenei, or you're not human, you're now a night elf, just because somebody says it. Interesting. But the fact is, the movie portrays her as half orc, half human. In lore, she's half Draenei or half... This is all very confusing. Paula Patton, she's really hot. Can't wait to see her. At one point, Johnny Depp was interested to star, and rumor has it he was very interested in playing Medivh. Incidentally, the role of Medivh went to Ben Foster. They do look kind of alike, especially if you have a few beers. They look very similar. But the point is this. Johnny Depp, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, on the billboard of a movie, good idea. Johnny Depp on a billboard of a movie today, really bad idea. Don't believe me? Fine. Go ask the people who made Long Ranger about Johnny Depp. Thank you very much for watching. This is Luxley. And before I go, I want to say that I did something very much like this on Star Wars The Force Awakens, and you can find a link to that video in the description. It's a bunch of facts, 25 facts, that you may or may not know about Star Wars The Force Awakens. This is Luxley saying, whatever it is by you, morning, afternoon, or night, make it epic. Have a great one, everyone.